If you stand before a judge as a thief, he will give you a thief for 20 years.
Yes. Please. I'm confused. The cows eat as you hold your knee. Clue 1 on Trading Places today. Where's Tariq? Please keep your guesses coming in. Let's get the latest on the roads first. M11 northbound, significant problems there, I'm afraid. There are emergency repairs due to a pothole on the northbound stretch between junction 8 and junction 9. All lanes have now been reopened, but I think that's only just happened because there are still some lengthy queues from most of that M11 stretch between 8 and 9. But hopefully, with lanes now reopened, that should get moving again. As a result, the A120 on the outskirts of Bishop's Stortford much busier than normal. Traffic coming off the M11, going, no, I don't want to sit in that traffic, and making the Birchhanger roundabout very busy. I don't know what to do now. I'm not quite sure how long that'll take to get moving again. You're chancing it. If you stay on the M11, you're going to hit the queue for some time. Not quite sure how long it takes a standing queue of a good few miles to get moving again. We'll wait and see. The A1023 High Street in Brentwood is still closed due to that burst water main. A130 around Howe Green, where it joins the A12, not as busy as it has been. There are slight delays there. Getting busier in Chelmsford on the approach to the Army and Navy roundabout. But other than that, despite all the weather conditions, it doesn't look too bad out there. Your next update will be at 1:15.
BBC Essex.
Keep your guesses coming then on Trading Places. Where's Tariq, please? Clue 1, the cows eat as you hold your knee.
Goes to my ears. I can't focus.
Here in the southeast, we sell amazing products and services the whole world wants.
We're global processing services from London, and we help.
Merton.
Record or change, I don't know. And we certainly don't want you switching off LBC. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. Hannah in Haringey, hello.
Hello, hiya. It's
Hi.
my second time calling, so thank you so much for taking my call. I'm just really taken back by some of the assumptions that, your callers are sharing with, or contributed to the dialogue. I mean, I'm a PhD researcher. I spent extensive time in Somalia and in Kenya, did have refugee camps, and this issue is very multifaceted and complex. And really, there isn't a one-size-fits-all, right? And I think I really, if I don't have a solution, I will urge the national government, the government to really, take research seriously and take the implications of some really robust research done in migration studies and refugee studies, and take those recommendations on board. And I also think part of that is really, I think the refugees themselves are key actors in this, and potentially we can consult with them to find out how we can have a more dignified approach to these issues.
Well, dignity is the word, isn't it? Because these are people who are fast losing their dignity.
Of course, and it saddens me when I hear people focus on boats as if they're objects. Really, we've been talking about human beings. And it's that, and again, for me as a PhD researcher, you're trying to never, to challenge your own assumptions. And I think maybe perhaps as a nation, PhD research or academics, I'm not saying academics are the only people that can do this, but maybe we need to engage with the public more in the research that we do, and to share our findings so that they understand the discourse that they hear in the media. It doesn't capture the nuances and the complexity of the lived experiences of these refugees.
Which is why we try to do just that.
Exactly.
So it isn't just an ugly slogan from Rishi Sunak, it's more than that,
It's far more than that. And you had a call referred to Somalia. I'm of Somali origin myself, and I've done research in Dadaab, like I explained. And part of the issue in Somalia is that the UNHCR's, 3 durable solutions are not working. And there is, in fact, these refugees are in de facto prison for 25 years for some of them. That's all they've known is these refugee camps.
Yeah, I spent some time, just a few days, in a refugee camp in Jordan at the height of the Syrian war. It was all Syrian people in there. And while they were happy to be safer, away from bombing, they were not happy to be there, and they were not happy to be refugees, and they didn't want to stay there. There were something like 150,000 people there when I went, and then within short order it was 300,000, and I'm told now it's like a kind of new city in Jordan. It's about an hour out of the capital, and you just think, what happens to those people now? I mean, even on the day I arrived, there were a group of men going to the administrative centre saying, look, we've had enough, we need our passports back now, we're just going to go back to Syria, we need to go home, and the war was at its height at that point.
And exactly, and some people are forced to go back into these situations because of these 3 doable solutions are essentially not doable, and are not working. So I think part of rethinking some of these kind of global or universal kind of refugee support is actually, I think anchoring the refugees themselves and actually acknowledge them as key actors in this.
I also think, and I get criticism for this, or I get, not quite criticism, I get sort of sneered at for this sometimes by people, when I say, just remember that they're human beings first and take it from there. And immediately people go to criminals, rapists. Oh, we've had one Conservative MP this week, Lee Anderson, focusing on an asylum seeker who was a rapist. And I just think, has Lee Anderson ever spoken in the House of Commons over the last 10 years about the rape conviction, the very low rape conviction in this country by British-born rapists? No. He just wants to go, foreign people,
really
rapists.
Isn't it? I find that really unethical, because if we start to criminalise and we start to add this kind of securitization discourse into migration, then we completely, it takes away from the most pressing issue, and the issue is with these are human beings, right?
It does.
And these human beings. And I remember, I think one thing that maybe perhaps people are not conscious of is the legacy of colonialism. And how it's lingering in countries like Somalia, where they were Somalia was split into 4 different kind of regions because of colonization, and due to that is still causing civil wars to today. And this,
the legacy of conflict afterwards. I mean, look at Northern Ireland.
Yeah, exactly. So I think as nation, as globally, we need to take some accountability for the contribution to conflict. I mean, that's one dimension of it, but I'm just saying it's multi-dimensional, and I really hope that your listeners really just
the road is Strasse. And the rest is full of road.
Helping to give Ukraine a decisive advantage on the battle.
day with hundreds of school closures and travel issues. Drivers have been left stranded in Yorkshire while fallen trees block train lines between Manchester and Sheffield. Storm Larissa has also caused problems at Liverpool John Lennon and East Midlands airports. The Metropolitan Police Commissioner has told LBC there should be tougher punishments for indecent exposure.
There's a big difference between an idiotic streaker on a football field and a predatory male in a dark alley exposing himself to a woman on the way home from the tube station. I'm not sure the sentencing framework reflects the predatory and horrific nature of the second one sufficiently.
Sir Mark Rowley's been speaking after Wayne Couzens was sentenced to 19 months for flashing 3 women before he went on to kill Sarah Everard. Today he's opened a dedicated phone helpline for victims of crime. London's mayor has agreed to pay £3 million a year to fund it. A teenager has been jailed for 10 years for stabbing a refugee to death in North London. The 17-year-old, who can't be named because of his age, has been sentenced to 10 years detention for manslaughter. Hazrat Wali died in October 2021. And the King has handed his late father's title, the Duke of Edinburgh, to his brother Prince Edward. We're told it's what the late Queen and Prince Philip wanted. In the city a short time ago, the Pitsea 100 was trading down 169 points at 77.10. The pound buys $1.20 and €1.13. LBC weather: scattered snow showers affecting northern Scotland tonight, cloudy with outbreaks of rain and hill snow developing in the far southwest. Elsewhere, clear spells with a severe frost over lying snow, a low of -9 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Amelia Cox.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Tom Swarbrick.
Just gone 4. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the show. Tom Swarbrick at Drive here on LBC. Hope we find you well this Friday afternoon. Coming up,
we're announcing a new detention centre in northern France, a new command centre bringing our enforcement teams together in one place, and an extra 500 new officers patrolling French beaches.
sounds like he's speaking on an old Pathé newsreel, doesn't he? Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, talking about the deal done with France, including millions more for a new detention centre. We'll bring you the details. Plus, it's Friday.
We say default, they say default. Either way, America's politicians could take the global economy down. I'm Simon Marks, my American Week at 10 to 6.
Call 0345 60 60 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850. Tom Swarbrick on LBC.
Very good afternoon to you. It might not be the most scintillating hour of radio, but you're perfectly entitled to listen to the figures I'm about to read out and just shrug your shoulders. Are these figures representative of anything? Are they just numbers, devoid of any real meaning? Because unless you can explain what the actual human experience behind these numbers is, then we may as well all shrug our shoulders, pack up and go home. I'm very much hoping that's not going to be the case. The numbers are these. An attitude survey done to mark International Women's Day aimed at millennials and Gen Z. That's those born between 1981 and 2012, broadly defined as young people. They were asked about equality between men and women and about the promotion of that equality. And there was a bit of a trend in some of these numbers. 38% now agree that when it comes to giving women equal rights with men, things have gone far enough. That's up from 25% in 2018. 38% also feel that men are being expected to do too much to support equality, an increase on the 29% who felt that way in 2019. The share of the British public who say that a man who stays at home to look after his children is less of a man has also gone up from 13% in 2019 to 19% today, with men, 23% of whom, more likely than women, 14%, to feel this way. And a large minority of the British public, 43%, say we've gone so far in promoting women's equality that we are now discriminating against men. Funnily enough, a majority of men, 53%, agree with that, and a third of women do. So don't shrug at that. It's not going to work on the radio. Bear in mind, that's young people. It's not the sort of the hordes of raging boomers who are sick of all the woke stuff. This is Generation Snowflake, maybe just melting. If you were born after 1981, what do you make of that? To be honest, I'm not even sure what the statements mean. So let's start with that. 38% also feel that men are being expected to do too much to support equality. What is actually expected of you? What are you actually being told you have to do that you don't want to do? I'm not so sure. It's also interesting that men are more likely to view stay-at-home dads as less manly. Is it less manly to be a stay-at-home dad than to not be? I sort of see why older generations, this might be a bit unfair, but nevertheless they might have that view, given the kind of the societal rules of what men and women are meant to do on that issue are pretty prescriptive, but times have changed and it's much more about who has the financial clout in the household rather than what might be between your legs that determines who stays at home with the children. So why is a man less of a man if he's a stay-at-home dad man? What are you being asked to do to promote women's rights that you think is too much? And can you give an example of where you think things have gone too far in the promotion of women's equality, where you roll your eyes at the latest suggestion that says, right, we need to keep pushing women's equality? And you will jump to the top of the queue this afternoon if you are a Gen Z or millennial. To repeat, if you were born after 1981 or between 1981 and 2012, you are Gen Z and millennial, and apparently more of you think that women's rights promotion has gone too far. Why? 0345 6060 973 the number. 4:08. Reem Ibrahim is a Conservative political commentator and communications officer at the Institute of Economic Affairs and wrote an article in the Telegraph in response to this poll. Thank you very much indeed for coming on. I wonder what you think, first of all, what you think the words mean, that men are expected to do too much to support equality.
Well, thank you for having me on. And I think that this sort of particular interesting point about Gen Z and this idea that a lot of our younger generation tend to want men to do more for women when it comes to responding to equality. What this essentially means to me, and what I think that this is sort of getting at, is that people think that men have had to take a step back in order for women to advance themselves and to advance their rights. So, for example, when it comes to issues like the gender pay gap, where these concerns are not completely unfounded, the reasons why women are paid on average less than men are twofold. However, whenever there is sort of a company that have been outed for paying women more than men, that's sort of praised on Twitter and praised online. Whereas if there is a gender pay gap in the other direction within a company, they're completely stormed and vilified by this sort of Twitter storm and Twitterati. So I think it's about differing social values, and feminism is no longer about equality, but it is now about inequality and that favour being towards women.
You say at the end of your piece, as we in the West take equality so far that younger generations are beginning to bristle. When you say take equality so far, what do you mean?
Well, I think it means it's inequality, and it means that we want the state essentially to be the proponents of this equality. I mean, to me that doesn't necessarily concede to what equality actually means. I mean, does that mean? I don't understand that. Sorry,
the state. What is the state doing that you don't want it to?
So, for example, when it comes to childcare regulations, a lot of childcare regulations are the reason why we've got this gender pay gap. It essentially means that when we've got a higher cost of living, women are deciding to then stay at home. That's a choice, and I think that that's not necessarily something that needs to be solved by the state. I think what we've seen recently, especially I think as a result of this poll from International Women's Day.
Sorry, just going back to that, because you're right, childcare is a massive issue. How else would it be solved?
We can reform our childcare system. I mean, our childcare regulations are one of the most stringent in the world.
But that would be the state doing that.
It will be the state rolling back their own regulations that they've implemented, yes. So it will be the state rolling back regulations that are already pre-existing. The state have already intervened in childcare regulations. I want the state to do less with regard to that, because essentially what's happening is the government are artificially putting up prices. If we look at Norway, if we had Norwegian childcare child to staff ratios, then it's been expected that childcare could actually childcare costs could cut in half. So I think that when we're looking at across the world, the way that they've been able to regulate things like childcare, and childcare is a very small part of the reason why we've got this gender pay gap, but I think it's interesting that at the moment the current discourse seems seems to want the government to do more for advancing women's rights, and I actually think that that's not the case. That wouldn't be the right way forward. Actually, we should be embracing the fact that capitalism and this classical liberal thought has actually advanced women's rights and women's freedom to own their own property and to work for themselves and keep their own money. I think that for me, this is what women's rights are about, and unfortunately, there are thousands and millions of women across the world that don't have the same rights that we do.
The poll says that 2 in 5 say we've gone so far in promoting women's equality that we're discriminating against men. Again, are there any examples of that, do you think?
That we discriminate against men specifically.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think that when we're thinking about, I use this example already, but when it comes to the gender pay gap between men and women within specific companies, if women are found to be paid more within a company, that is celebrated. If men are found to be paid more within a company, that they are vilified, and that company is sort of cancelled by the Twitterati. So I think it's about this double standard that for some reason, if women are advanced further than men, that is celebrated. But when men are advanced further than women, that is vilified.
I can see that, but are there any examples of that? Are there examples where companies have been found to be paying women because they're women a lot more than men because they're men and celebrated for it?
Yeah, of course. You can find that all across Twitter. I mean, historically, there's always been a thing within cancel culture. But
no, but it's not a challenge. I'm just interested in where that might be. I haven't seen that.
Are you on Twitter? You've got to be on Twitter to be able to see this stuff. I think what's fascinating is that there is this double standard between men and women. I think also when it comes to we don't have an International Men's Day, we've got an International Women's Day, and within this day we're sort of celebrating women's advancement, which I think is fantastic. But what we're not doing, and I think what sort of dominated current discourse very recently, is this idea that capitalism oppresses women or that capitalism is anti-women. I think that's just could not be further from the truth, and that's I think really where a lot of this sort of the Generation Z, which I'm a part of, a lot of people within my generation are starting to see that this new feminist movement, this new sort of women's rights movement have actually gone too far, and instead what we need to be thinking about is why we have these issues in the first place. So with the gender pay gap, why do we have that issue? It's predominantly due to the fact that we've got these high childcare costs and regulations, and unfortunately that's a cultural thing. Women tend to be taking on that childcare role over men when childcare costs are too high. And at the moment we are facing this cost of living crisis, and so when childcare costs are too high, women end up staying at home and then not advancing in their career as much as men do.
And I get that point, that women staying at home not advancing in their careers because someone's got to look after blah blah blah. I get all that. I just don't see necessarily how a woman being in a company that pays her less than a male colleague wouldn't be something that needed to be looked at. That's not going to be an effect of childcare being expensive.
No, I completely agree. And I mean, in this country, discriminating on the basis of sex is illegal, right? That's already within British law, within legislation. If you are a man and you feel as though you're being paid less than a woman purely due to the fact of your gender or sex.
And do you think that exists? Do you think that is happening?
Well, we can look at the stats and we can see whether it is happening, but that doesn't necessarily matter. It's about the attitude, isn't it? This is what this poll is really showing, is that people feel as though there is this gender imbalance now, and we feel as though we are taking this new sort of social justice warrior feminism too far. Whether or not this is what happens in reality across the entire economy, we don't really have the stats on that. But what we do have the stats on is that women in my generation feel as though this is going too far and actually want the state to do less.
Good to speak to you. Reem Ibrahim, Conservative political commentator, communications officer at the Institute of Economic Affairs, wrote the article in The Telegraph in response to that. I still don't know what too far means. We're taking women's rights too far. What does that mean? I'm looking for examples of where you think women's rights have gone too far. Whoa there, Nelly. Not Nelly, be any name. Whoa there. It's too much. You've gone too far. What? 0345 6060 973 is the number. Come to your calls after this. You will be prioritised if you were born after the year 1981. 416.
LBC Travel, I'm Anne-Marie Walsh on the M25 anti-clockwise. Traffic is being held between junction 11 for Chertsey and 10 at the A3 to recover an accident. There are delays on the A40 in both directions towards the Greenford flyover because of the roadworks. And in Romford it's queuing on the A12 northbound towards Morney Road because of the emergency water repairs. Wellbone Lane North in Chadwell Heath is partly blocked as a bus has broken down at Rose Lane. And in Bermondsey it's slow moving on the A2 in both directions towards East Street as temporary lights are in place there for roadworks. In Streatham, it's queuing on Streatham High Road towards the roadworks at Glen Eagle Road, and the Woolwich Ferry is not running. That's because of technical issues.
This is LBC. Bar
Or spa.
Wild flavours.
Or wild water.
Worlds of adventure.
Or green planet.
Dubai. Anytime's a good time. From the world's tallest building to deep below the sea. From fine dining to fine shopping. A Dubai summer has it all. Let Emirates fly you there in comfort. Fly Emirates. Fly better. Call Tom Swarbrick 0345 6060 973 LBC.
Here in the Southeast, we sell amazing products and services the whole world wants.
We're global processing services from London, and we help people pay in innovative ways in over 48 countries.
We're Creative Nature from Surrey, and our allergen-free snack bars let people eat safely across the Middle East and Europe.
Whilst at Naturally Tribal in Milton Keynes, our all-natural skincare range soothes skin conditions in 5 countries.
So if you make it in the Southeast, why not sell it to the world? For free help from the UK government, visit great.gov.uk.
Are rising costs forcing you into unaffordable debt? An individual voluntary arrangement from Credit Fix could help. Write off up to 81% of your unsecured debt with manageable repayments and or interest and charges frozen. With over 14,000 5-star reviews on Trustpilot, Credit Fix could help you to a brighter financial future. Just text DEBT to 60777. Text DEBT to 60777 now. Terms apply. May not be suitable for all. Can affect credit rating. Free advice at moneyhelper.org.uk.
Are you ready for the new F1 season live on Sky Sports? The ups, the downs, the twists and turns are back! With new faces, new places, and more races than ever before. Get all 23 races live for £15 extra a month and cancel anytime. Whew. Enjoy the ride. The new F1 season. Live on Sky Sports. Offer ends 23rd of March. Sky Q required. Further terms apply.
Hula hoops puffed. Sense its lightness, its puffiness. Unleash the delicious taste of Hula-licious. Hula-lightful.
Hula hoops puffed. Light puffy hoops in a range of delicious flavours and 72 calories per pack. Hula-licious. Hula-lightful.
The plant by the reception desk at Axel's Autocare is loving life. This is because Axel got 50% off a new Barclaycard card reader until end of June. It does everything from taking payments to managing stock, which frees up time for the staff to do little things like water the plant. What's good for small business is good for everyone. Barclaycard Payments. The payment part is just the start.
Smart Pay Touch Card Reader application approval depends on financial circumstances and borrowing history. Offers now on. Apply by 31st of March. T's and C's apply.
With Pension B, you can combine, contribute and withdraw online. We helped Andrew bring multiple workplace pensions together into one new online plan.
I chose Pension B because I was looking for a way to consolidate a large number of pensions. It was really easy to sign up. I had to enter my details. Pension B did the rest.
We're making pensions simple so everyone can look forward to a happy retirement. Be pension confident. Join at pensionb.com. When investing, capital is at risk.
Tom Swarbrick. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
4:20. Very good afternoon to you. I started this hour by suggesting it might not work on the radio if, when delving into these figures, you just ended up shrugging. And I'll be quite honest with you, after the first 20 minutes of this programme, I might be the one that just ends up shrugging, because I've got no idea what this means. What does it mean to say that 38% of people feel that women's rights have gone too far? We had an attempt at an explanation from someone who wrote about it in the Telegraph. I'm afraid I still don't know. Maureen's in Bangor. Maureen.
Hello. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm very well. Have women's rights gone too far?
No. I think the perception of what's actually happened is we're coming at this a little bit wrong. There's a lot of variables coming into play here as to why people are feeling the way that they're feeling about feminism. There are multiple waves of feminism. Which feminism are you talking about? And then on top of that, I don't think women's rights have been pushed too far. I think that there are instances of old patriarchy to protect women that we have conveniently forgotten to correct on behalf of men to make things egalitarian.
So where would you say that women's rights have fallen back?
Not fallen back, but definitely
haven't caught
men.
up.
Okay, so for instance, very simple, if a man and a woman get a divorce, right? The expectation, if the woman earns more money, for instance, than the man, the expectation I'm so sorry, I have a child
Don't
stuck
worry.
in
Do
my
you know what?
chest.
I'm laughing because it's actually a really lovely noise. I think have you got a son or a daughter, Maureen?
I've got 2 wee boys.
Oh. If they start crying, we might end the call because, it's like a knife through butter, that noise with me these days. But this cooing is lovely. Carry on.
No worries. Okay, so basically, whenever the woman... He's just laughing. I'm so sorry. If the woman makes more money than the man, the expectation for the woman to actually pay alimony or some sort of penance to the men when they make the divorce is not expected. Whereas when a man makes more money, immediately there is that division of finances. That's where there's this annoyance, right? And that's where you can see that. And then again, if they're getting a divorce and if there's children, there's this expectation or belief that they immediately need to go to the mother for childcare purposes, regardless as to whether or not the father is a good one or the mother's a bad one.
Who does that expectation come from?
Society as a whole.
So
and that's where the problem's coming into play. And so you get like these angry men who just want to be around their kids, or these angry men who are paying out of pocket for women who can rightly just get a job.
So what needs to change then in order to have women's rights catch up in that particular area is an attitudinal societal shift that it's not the woman in the main who is the main caregiver of children.
Well, that's what we're fighting for. If we're really properly looking at this as a case of egalitarianism, feminism in the form of egalitarianism, where men are not more or less than women, and we've got this other fourth wave feminism where it's actually just misandry. They just hate men.
Yeah.
Don't confuse it for what it was supposed to be, which is just to get women's rights to be equal of men, not to deprive men of any rights. And that's the problem, is that there are things that are slightly slanted towards women's benefit. Yes, we have these rights. And that's what they mean by gone too far. We have not corrected things of the past.
And when you say slightly slanted, do you mean over and above the rights of men, or just in the view of men?
Rights of men, actually, like in the courts, for instance, like in the court system, in the examples I just gave you there.
That a woman is prioritised because she's a woman?
Yeah.
Interesting. Maureen, really good to talk to you, and to at least one of your 2 boys. Good luck. Thank you very much indeed. Andy's in Glasgow. Hi, Andy.
How you doing, Tom?
Yeah, good. Far away.
Well, I'm 35-year-old, so I believe I've got one of these Gen Z labels or whatever you want to call it.
We're both Gen Z.
Unfortunately, I am. So I'm studying psychology at university, and I'm probably one of 3 males in a class of about 200. And I'll be honest with you, all I hear is about discrimination and how women they don't have any advantage, or they have less of an advantage than men. And I'm sitting there looking at them all thinking, well, statistically, yous are more than likely going to get a job in the field than I am. Universities now are so for women and against males. There's so many safe spaces in universities for women and all different people of ethnicities and things like that, and which is great. But unfortunately, men are just expected to use the phrase "man up" and go on with it.
What does a safe space for women do for your right to do what you want to do on a university campus?
Well, it's a safe space for anything, really. It's where they can go in and feel that they can openly discuss whatever they need to to discuss, which is great. It's lovely. It's a lovely idea. It's not balanced, though. It's certainly not balanced in the way that...
It's because there's not a safe space for men?
Not because there's specifically a safe space for men, but it would certainly be frowned upon if we were to have a place like that. Well, it's just because we're expected to man up and go on with it. It's always kind of been like that.
Who's expecting you to do that?
Well, society, if you want to say it like that.
This society's got a lot to answer for in all of this, because you keep coming back to...
the term.
But I know, so do I. It's amorphous, nonsensical. It's like trying to pin down jelly. I don't know, and I'll be honest with you, I think it's a lot of what people want to think, that then go, yeah, well, society thinks that, so it's not me. But actually what you've done is you've added what you think into this space called society and gone, yeah, look, society again.
Well, a prime example is I don't believe in the gender pay gap. What was it? Sophie, I think her name was discussing the gender pay gap quite extensively, and I don't believe in it. I believe there's psychological reasons as to why women potentially might get paid more than men. I do believe that there's a pay gap when it comes to motherhood. I believe that there's not advantages given to women when they come back to the workplace. Take an example: lawyers scream out for women to be lawyers because they're more argumentative in the courtroom. But when it comes to the actual training to be a lawyer, women don't tend to stick it out. They're more likely to either have a child or they'll come back, or stock markets, for instance. You're going to lose your client base if you leave for 9-12 months. I don't agree with that. I don't agree that they're going to come back and have an issue. But, that is why, unfortunately, some men do get paid more. I'm going to be hated for saying that.
Oh, God, Andy, you...
There's also reasons, But if you have a look at your wage bracket within your company that you're currently getting paid for, you're more likely as a man, due to your aggressive nature and your primal instincts, to ask for a wage rise more than women are.
I understand that. Can I just take you back to your suggestion?
Sure.
That women, because they're more shouty and aggressive, would make better lawyers, but many don't make it...
argumentative.
More argumentative, right.
They're better at displaying arguments than men are.
And is that... What's that based on?
Well, that's based on the fact that women can more than likely see the bigger picture than men are. We predominantly go after just one or two specific things.
And again, when you use these generalisations, like all men go after specific things, all women take on generalisations...
General, yeah.
What's that based on?
Well, it's just based on years and years of research. I've not unfortunately got any research papers to go in front of me, but that's what my research is involved in with the universities. We're looking at the differences.
There's a body of literature in psychology suggesting that because of chemicals in the brain, women are more likely to than men.
Exactly. It's the same reason why men like blue and girls like pink. There's biological reasons for that. And there is, and I love the argument that men and women we're more like each other than we are different, but there is differences. There
are obviously differences. They're biological differences. But I don't know why a biological difference would necessarily mean that boys like blue and girls like pink.
Well, I won't bore you with it, but it's all to do with hunting tactics. But women go after pink, which is part of the red colour, because it insinuates ripe fruit, and men go after blue because it insinuates a blue sky, which is good for hunting. So it's a primal instinct which kick in. There's huge literature on all this stuff, and I'll be honest with you, it's not. I absolutely love it. And see, before I started university, I was a bus driver, and I didn't know any of this. I didn't believe that
Do you think it's true, though? Do you think it is actually true?
Well, there has to be. Because we can still look at the animal kingdom, and we can still observe these goings on. We can still see that there's a clear...
What, the lionesses like pink and lions like blue?
Maybe not that specifically, but yes, if you look at even babies, for instance, there was studies, I think by Sacha Baron Cohen, or Simon Baron Cohen, sorry, I get them mixed up.
Yes, Sacha Baron Cohen, right. I think it's his brother who does the academia, he does something else.
Well, he'd done research on babies when they were first born, and he found out that infant boys were more likely to want to engage with cogs and wheels and moving mechanical things, where infant girl babies were more likely to engage in a face, which is showing the nature compared to the fixing and the nature side of things.
Do you know, there is there is something. I think that there might be something in that. It is weird how it's certainly in my experience. My boy was at age 2 or 3 into the trucks and the trains, and my daughter was into the Barbies. It is. I don't know. I'm not sure it's just gender stereotyping that does that. Andy, interesting, controversial, but interesting. 0345 6060 973, the number. Coming up.
If a victim doesn't have confidence to report a crime, doesn't take part in the prosecution of the person responsible, that person's still out there and could commit further offences.
The Met Police will be given £3 million to overhaul the treatment of victims, the money going towards a free phone line, as well as more support staff. Is this how the Met goes about rebuilding trust? We'll discuss. 4:31. News headlines, Amelia Cox.
The UK has agreed to spend £480 million to work with France to stop small boat crossings in the Channel. It will pay for a new detention centre and hundreds of officers to patrol French beaches. Heavy snow has been causing disruption across the UK. It's left drivers stranded in Yorkshire, and people in the Peak District have been told to avoid all unnecessary travel. And a teenager has been jailed for more than 10 years for killing an Afghan refugee in southwest London. He was found guilty of manslaughter after 18-year-old Hazrat Wali was stabbed in a park in Twickenham in October 2021. LBC weather, cold and icy tonight with clear skies for most. Scattered snow showers in the far north of Scotland, lows of -7.
Join me, Andrew Castle, here on LBC.
Boris is the only man that can bring Conservative through to the next election winner. I think country wouldn't be in this situation had he not been handed out.
Hold on a second though, Kevin. Does it matter if a serving Prime Minister lies to Parliament?
Well, basically, Andrew, I think...
the answer's yes, Kev. Join me, Andrew Castle, tomorrow morning from 7. Listen on your radio and on Global Player, LBC.
Hello, I'm Dr. Pitsea McKenna, and I'm pleased to share this message developed and funded by GSK. Last week was Shingles Awareness Week. Shingles is a painful condition, often presenting as a rash on one side of the body. If you've had chickenpox, you already have the virus that causes shingles, and the risk of shingles increases in people over 50 or in those with a weakened immune system. Know the symptoms and risks. Visit GSK's understandingshingles.co.uk.
In these uncertain times, who do you trust with your stocks and shares ISA?
I trust the power of my crystal ball.
I put my head in the sand hoping it will all go away. Go away? I trust to Best Invest. With free investment coaching, expertly managed, ready-made portfolios, and low share trading fees, why wouldn't I? Open an ISA at bestinvest.co.uk and get up to £1,000 cash back when you transfer to us. You work hard for your money. Best invested. Your capital is at risk. Terms apply.
At Age UK, we understand that knowing the right question can be as difficult as finding the right answer. So we're here to help. Our website is full of free information and advice on everything from money and legal issues to health and care, whether it's for you or someone you know. You can also call our advice line every day of the year to talk to a friendly advisor. To find out more, search Age UK or call 0800 169 3399.
Feel the power to lower prices.